Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. We are the editors at Rabble Review. We are a literary magazine, online only. And yeah, we're here to celebrate the launch of our 7th issue that just came out last Friday. So before we get started with our contributor readings, let me introduce our editors, Hurdis
Hello.
and Angel Neri.
Hello.
And I am Adjei. I am also an editor at RABBLE Review. Our fourth editor, Faith Robertson Paul, is not joining us tonight. She has some other things, but she's definitely part of the team, and yeah, hopefully she'll be on the next one. But yeah, today we're just going to celebrate the launch of the issue, celebrate some of our contributors who helped make it all possible. Many of them submitted readings tonight that you'll be hearing. We have a lot of great readings lined up. So our first reader is Diane Lefer. They are going to be reading their poem, "The Glutton Runs a Fever." And for those of you who have downloaded the issue already, well, first of all, if you've not downloaded the issue, I put some very handy QR codes at the bottom and top of the screen. So please, if you have not, or you can just go to the website, rabblereview.gumroad.com/RR7, and from there you'll be able to download the issue for free, or if you would like to give us a contribution, that is also welcome. So yeah, Diane Lefer will be our first reader. All the readers who provided us with links to their other works will also have a QR code underneath their bios in the video clips. So if you'd like to support them further, which we highly encourage you to do, please check them out. Diane Lefer also has some stuff available for purchase if you like what you hear and want to hear more, and we think you will like what you hear. So Diane Lefer will be reading "The Glutton Runs a Fever," and that it will be on page 71 in Rabble Review 7. So we're gonna go over to that.
My name is Diane Lefer, and I'm very happy to be part of this issue and appreciate the chance to share my poem on Rabble Review's live stream. The glutton runs a fever. This is where we're going. Google Earth shows a jagged shoreline, pink and sand, the ragged claws. Did you think the world was your oyster? Where we're going, it's a crab, and you must smash without pity to consume it, which is, of course, the course we curse, and yet, bad enough I dreamed I was a cannibal sucking on the knuckles of a severed hand. A friend who knows me well said, "Well, of course. Worse." I know it's really very easy to critique our capitalist society, so I do hope some other contributors to the issue can offer a bit more hope. Before I sign off here, I'd like to mention my two most recent novels. They're more realistic in style than the poem. Out of Place takes on the security state as international scientists and an unfortunate office manager become terrorism suspects after 9/11. The other novel, Confessions of a Carnivore, was initially inspired by my relationship with a baboon at the LA Zoo. But the characters' commitments to animal rights lead them to confront human rights abuses, the crimes of the Bush administration, and the war and occupation of Iraq. Both books are somewhat more hopeful than the poem as they point toward resistance and solidarity. And there are no cannibals. So thank you for your solidarity in spending the last few minutes with me Now please enjoy the rest of the Rabble Review live stream. And yes, please read the issue.
All right. Thank you to Diane Lefer. You can find, you can find all of the works in our newest issue of Rabble Review, Rabble Review #7, available now. So yeah, that was a really great reading. So next up, Jer is gonna introduce our next reader. Actually, no, sorry, Angel's gonna introduce our next reader.
Yes, I'll be doing Bob King, who will be reading the Archaeology of the Ampersand on page 25 of R7.
Yes, let's take a listen.
Hi, I'm Bob King. I live on the outskirts of Cleveland, Ohio, and I teach at Kent State University at Stark campus. In August 2024, I have a collection of poems coming out from Finishing Line Press titled And. I'm also at work on my second collection of poems called And Or, which I'm searching for a publisher for. Both collections embrace, a lot of the poems in there embrace the use of the ampersand, this little hieroglyph that traces back to 1st century Rome, that serves as this catalyst and catapult for how my brain works, certainly influenced by the Surrealists, the New York School, and many others. Everything is grist for the mill, right? As Rothko and many others smarter than me have said. This poem embraces the ampersand, but also tells the story of a time I was pulled over by a police officer for not stopping at a stop sign long enough. And as I sat there, he explained to me that, yes, in fact, I stopped. I just didn't stop long enough. And he misspoke as he was explaining the law, and I decided I interrupted him and corrected his grammar. I do not suggest you do that. One more thing before I read the poem. Thank you to Andrew and the entire staff at Rabble Review. I'm very excited and grateful to be included in issue #7. And for more information about me, please check out my website at bobking.org. Here is the Archaeology of the Ampersand. Question: how often do you battle the instinct to hate the group project with one unfair grade for everyone in it, and yet desperately need to get, to be, to remain connected to others? The conflict of belonging, but belonging on your own terms. Boundaries impersonating amoebas. It turns out that on those job, skills, profile, and value assessment personality tests, I'm a 0% match for military service. And I've only been tossed in the back of 2 cop cars, once for questioning the officer's color spectrum perception as we both gazed up at the traffic light, and once for correcting the dude's grammar. Listen, buddy, if you're going to hold me to the bullshit stop at a stop sign for 3 full seconds law, well then Dreyer's English, an utterly correct guide to clarity and style, would like a word. Note, if you're going to correct a cranky cop's pronouns, do so with the flair that only middle-aged white dudes assured of their personal safety can muster. And definitely don't slam your hand on the back seat's plexiglass to correct him again as he radios in your pomposity. Don't ask him about real crime, broken windows theories, or the criminal ways we're treating the earth, wildfires raging, plastics and Prozac in our drinking water, and hey, you got any water up there? You say to the sky, or to no one in particular, as he pulls you from the cruiser, releasing you into your own custody, when all you wanted to know was if he felt the same constant and persistent and anxious push and pull. Are we all really that connected? And can I even be connected to those 1st century Romans, whether through handcuffs or hieroglyphs? Thank you.
All right, that was Bob King reading their poem, the Archaeology of the Ampersand. So thank you to Bob King for submitting that reading. Really appreciate it, and we're happy to have it in the issue. Up next, Jarrett will be introducing our next reader.
Yeah, up next, pre-recorded from page 52 of Rabble Review No.7. We're going to have the poem Fading, read by the author Karoly. It's originally written in Hungarian and translated by Agnes Magyari, which I hope I pronounced correctly, and I'm very sorry if I didn't.
All right, let's take a listen.
Karoly, fading to the gods who left. Pale hanged stars, I trample on faint shadows of drifting words, immersing in puddles, unbeloved. Lunatic sun, shaman drum twirling at its wilted rays, all stringy memories chasing your dreams. Something sighs inside you. God is just mist around your lips.
All right, that was Karoly reading their poem Fading. So thank you to Karoly and their translator for that terrific poem.
And for the echo effect and everything, that was
It's
really nice ad.
It's very, very atmospheric. Yeah, but yeah, like, not to spoil the rest of our reading, but there's some, like, there's a lot of variety in the readings this time. We have some really, really excellent contributors who really went above and beyond. So can't wait for you guys to hear more. But yeah, up next we have a returning Rabble Review contributor, Amrita Valan, who has quite a few poems in the new issue, but she will be reading In Memory of Lives Lost of Land to In Memory of Lives Lost to Land Grabbing Capitalists, which is on page 107. And then she'll be reading her other poem, Idiot, which is on page 113 in the new issue. So we're going to listen to that now.
Hello friends, my name is Amrita Valan and I am from India. The first poem that I'll recite is titled In Memory of Lives Lost to Land-Grabbing Capitalists. The dead must die again and again at the altar of inconvenient truth. Sad lies, their comeuppance. The dead must shed blood. Milk rose, white and pure, bones blue with bruised resolve. The dead never stay dead. They rise, haunt themselves till they wish they were truly dead. Only wish fulfillment puts their ghosts to bed. The great capitalist industrialist came to infuse new economic vigor to the state. He left behind his philanthropic wake great bloodshed. As landholders declared, they'd rather be dead than part with an inch of ancestral land. So it was. The ground soaked red. I had discussion over coffee with friends, and they explained, financial benefits must accrue, they said. It is. Was for their own good. How do mindless blue-collar jobs as workers for minimal wages bound to industries translate to that good for owners of land, freeholders? I never understood. Daddy said the governments have to have their way, work must progress, or else progress is dead. I said, oh really? How would you feel if the government took away your retirement home? This little flat, citing eminent domain, at its price, 20 years back? My dad exclaimed, oh look, I have reared a communist, I see. I shrugged and shook my head, so long as my point he took. It's all in the head, these names you label with, they're shame and guilt games. But you cannot expect free men to be slaves for your industrial enclaves. Some things cannot be monetized. The next poem that I will recite is titled Idiot. I'm sitting inside a box watching a vendor box, wheeling, dealing, views, opinions, news, disinformation. Astonished how my idiocy levels have risen overnight. I could hold a doctoral degree in conspiracy theories, shrill whataboutery, banshees shrieking, screaming, uttering bassy pajouk and other abominations. White noise psychobabble, while a determined scorpion slithers up my skin with sly skeletal grin, tallying pale underbelly to epidermis of the events unfolding, teeming shoals, red herring swarm, content as a distraction, intent camouflaged. Interpret, correlate the contextual wag the dogs. The world's an opinion marketplace trading views, misinformation, disinformation, paper news piranhas. The prices bullish, bearish, opinion mongers decree where, what, when you set up shop. Indoctrination movies, polarizing poetry, antagonistic art, discreetly big business, folk-offs, subliminal guidance, even boom putoa, guttural belly laughs. When you panic sell, when you flood the market, when you leverage enemies to the corner, you toe party lines, choose your voice from the menu, not your own. Politicians may come and go, but they are in the know. Their greed satisfied as overbuying's the way you go. IKEA, trivia, poems, stories, doggerels, gossip columns, editorials, opinion pieces, fake encounters, hype and hoopla, slime. Music though, some don't sing. It is okay. We idiots wear blinkers of bling, and I, acolyte of mighty Amazon, add it all to my cart, wishing these very same things, virtue signaling, strident voiced, prudently poised. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Amrita Valan for their wonderful readings. They have 2 more poems in the issue. So yeah, definitely check those out along with the rest of the readings tonight. And just as another reminder, please, if you see those QR codes on the reader pages and you're liking what you're hearing, yeah, visit their site, check out their work, and support them. All right, up next, Angel will be introducing our next reader.
Yes, up next is Tim Kahl, who will be reading Crash Habit on page 54.
Yeah, they will. All right, here's Tim Kahl.
This is Tim Kahl reading Crash Habit for Rabble Review. Crash Habit. In another life, we will all be made whole. For now, the party roars on, enhanced by the sound of something breaking. An odd glass vase crashing to the floor and reflecting all the faces in the room, like a housefly's compound eye. It's a hazard in the middle of the room, for sure, but worth walking around it a bit to see if any patterns emerge, the way one shapes clouds into the faces of favorite pets and dead presidents. There's one like a $20 bill flying over the top of the mall right now, and new plywood being tacked to a set of studs. What the hell is going in there? Probably one more thing I don't need. But some sharp marketer sees an opening in me. I'm going to pry it wide open and stick a wedge in before I know what's happened. I'll cry foul. But then I'll concede. I'll own it. I'll wear it. I'll walk around and say its name. I'll make it fit on the shelf of me and let its weight settle on my smile. I'll be content for a second before the headlines come crashing down on me.
All right. Tim Kahl. Really fantastic stuff there. Before we go on, like, you receive the poetry, and you receive the submissions, and you're reading the submissions, and you have a voice in your head when you're reading some of them, and that is not at all how I imagined Crash Habit when I first read it, but I am really glad that we have this version that'll live on. So once again, thank you to Tim Kahl for that really excellent reading.
I know people might have read the bio, but it's worth mentioning he does make music as well.
Yes, there's a SoundCloud. I linked to his website, which hopefully links to his music, but he does have a SoundCloud as well. So if you like those beats, definitely check him out. But yeah, up next we have another reader. So Jer will be introducing him.
Yeah, we're going to hear a reading of Wealth Inequality is When You Live in Someone Else's Walls by Chloe Frost. This is found on page 75 of Rabble Review 7.
All right, let's hear from Chloe Frost.
Hello, my name is Chloe, and I'm very happy to say that 2 of my pieces have been accepted by Rabble Review. So today I'm going to be doing a reading of one of those pieces. So one of the 2 is Fresh Meat, which is a short story. The one I'm going to be reading, though, is actually a poem called Wealth Inequality is When You Live in Someone Else's Walls. And I wrote this based on something I saw on Twitter about a woman telling a story of how she found out that somebody had actually been living under her house. And the reason they found out is because they went to do some maintenance on the house and found an old mattress and also some like empty cans and a box with a single match in. And all of the replies were about, feeling understandably, like sorry for her and, is she okay, is she safe, which is obviously a very understandable reaction. But I was also surprised that there was no one saying anything in terms of whoever this houseless person was who'd had to be sleeping in somebody else's house. There was absolutely no empathy for that person. If anything, there was a lot of demonizing towards the fact that, how dare they, move into someone else's, the underbit of someone's house, and how like rude and awful that was, instead of showing any empathy. So with that explanation out of the way, I will go on and I will read the poem. Wealth inequality is when you live in someone else's walls. Open hatch to the bowels of my house. Hidden, sleeping bag, some bottles, tin cans, and a match. The last one in the box. Under my bed, they made theirs. Cold crawl space, cobwebbed. But my friends I should confront them. My family want me to call the police. My friends, my family, my house. My candle, my radiator, and fire flicker. Me, me, me. My, mine, mine. Am I the victim? Just a month, maybe 2, no sign, no sound. Just the open hatch. Snitch. They could be a killer, said my neighbour. Maybe, but so could I. Unlikely, replied my neighbour. They don't have many mice. They only have one match. So that was Wealth Inequality is Living in Someone Else's Walls. My insight for both of the pieces that I've submitted to Rabble Review, the inspiration was how labels such as homeless, houseless, migrants, immigrants work to other us from the most vulnerable people in society. It's the most vulnerable people that often get these labels given to them as a way to dehumanize them in many ways, when actually the truth is that, you know, they are just people like us who have their own thoughts, feelings, ambitions, goals, pasts, traumas, everything, and actually have the potential, once you get to know them and get past the label, to become, you know, a friend, a lover, a family. But often when you see discourse about these kind of, you know, labelled people, it's always very negative. They're described as like this bad, evil thing that's coming to get you. And I just wanted to create some pieces that sort of showed that actually, you know, they're just people, they're just humans like us, and it's important to have empathy when you're going into looking at situations about whether it is homelessness, whether it is migrants, whether it's crime, really thinking about, okay, but who is this person? What is their history? What is their backstory? Because at the end of the day, they're people like us. And yeah, just encourage more empathy amongst the reader and those who read my work. But thank you very much for featuring my work, and if you want to see more of it, stuff I do, you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at ChloeFrost1995. I'm also on TikTok at cf.writer. Thanks very much, and I look forward to reading Rabble Review and the other pieces that have been submitted. Bye!
All right, thank you to Chloe Frost. Some really great discussion tagged on at the end of that reading. So yeah, like I said, we have a nice mix of contributor readings today, and I'm really glad for the insight, especially because like I didn't really pick up on the actual real life connection with the poem while I was reading. So like this really is a really interesting inspiration, I should say, and yeah, how we do talk about the unhoused and just poverty in general. Like, you know, yeah, it's a really great inspiration for a poem. So yeah, up next, we're gonna keep moving along. We have the poet MJ reading their poem Essays Summary Offences Acts. That's on page 83 in the newest edition of Rabble Review number 7. So yeah, we're gonna hear from the poet MJ.
Melinda Jane, the poet MJ, poem title Essay Summary Offences Act. This poem is a poem of political protest. I live in South Australia, and this year my government brought in an act that if you are protesting, you can be arrested if you engage in conduct that obstructs the free passage of a public place. The police can arrest you, you can stand before a court, and you can be charged with 3 months in jail or a $50,000 fine for protesting in my own state. The other issue with Australia is we do not have a Bill of Rights in any constitution of the federal government, and we do not have Whistleblower Protection Act, and there has been many crimes recently committed in the last 4 or 5 years of journalists' homes being raided and whistleblowers being put in jail, and even some secret courts, and people were being put into jail and we didn't even know what they were charged with. Australia is not a place of freedom of speech and freedom of association. Here is my poem. Essay Summaries Offensive Act by Melinda Jane, the poet MJ. I dreamed of a semi-police state on my doorstep, My menstrual blood bleeds from my nose. Gauge emotions, dingo-like. Melanaustis government, amend. I'm carnage carcass on the freeway, running over our rights to protest. Opposition leader Spearsy, beheading protesters, not an option here yet. I can't hop away, kangaroo court, smelting our rights away, rare earths. The quarries grew, the precious metals of democracy sold, and my menstrual blood turned to madness not on pause.
All right, that was the poet MJ reading their poem SA's Summary Offences Act, RABBLE Review 7, and got some good background on the inspiration for that poem as well. So thank you to the poet MJ for that excellent reading. Up next, Angel will be introducing our next reader.
Howdy, what's up, y'all? Public school educator, publisher, and poet Tim Staley here. I'm at school right now. Can you see that school bus underneath my armpit? They're all lined up back there. I'm on a little break. I thought this might be a good place to read this poem since we got some grackles up in the tree making sounds right here. This poem's got birds in it. Ground loops. In strong winds, birds don't fly in straight lines, but still they fly. In patterns of jagged mountains, rough-cut stones shift faster than we might imagine. In Greek myth, Sharon ferries souls across the river Styx, which separates the living from the dead. In Dante's poem, Sharon forces reluctant sinners onto his ferry by beating them with an oar. In this poem, Sharon trades his boat for a Boeing, his bronze waders for Ray-Ban aviators. In El Paso, the asylum seekers are single-filed onto Sharon's plane by ICE agents, led by one Lorena Diaz from Laredo. In the search engine, Lorena Diaz asks, "Can you still work for ICE if your father's undocumented?" And the engine says, "Yes, but it's tricky." In reality, dustfall isn't affected by the color of the dust, but darker dust perceived by the public as having more impact than light-colored dust. In this poem, Sharon's eyes are white like the center of a flare, but they're just off-the-rack contacts from Spirit Halloween. In Sharon's mind, he used to think his backyard birds were being greedy the way they drained his biggest feeder in a single day. In strong winds, on treadmills of air, birds fly in place. In his backyard, Sharon repurposes his oar for a perch and wonders why he keeps disinfecting it, while he never feels the need to scrub branches clean. In 10 languages, spirit means wind. Does that mean each particle of dust is a tiny prayer? Thank you, folks. This poem came to me with the image of Sharon, that old psychopomp who paddles the souls across the river Styx. It came to me with Sharon with those like aviator glasses on, or like steampunk goggles kind of thing on. And that's sort of where this poem came out of. I also like this idea that in 10 languages, spirit means wind. Does that mean each particle of dust is a tiny prayer? I'm writing in southern New Mexico, south central. And we got a lot of wind around here. Heck, this poem's just about to blow off the table. Rabble Review, thank you for including my poetry in this episode, in this issue 7. Thrilled to be a part of this exciting project. Speaking of exciting projects, I am a YouTuber. My YouTube address, Poet Tim Staley. I got a lot of raps on there, 25 to be exact. I'm a rapper known as MC Flashcard. And also I got a new series called The Poets I've Been Reading. It's not for me to sit there and English teacher out on you, and for me to sit here and tell you what you should be thinking that these poems mean. It's just a place for me to share what I've been reading. My students aren't really listening to me much, so that's the nice thing about the YouTube environment. You just hit record. You get to dream about who or what may be watching. Thanks again, folks. Peace out.
All right. Thank you to Tim Staley reading their poem Ground Loops. And yeah, we're going to keep moving on. We have another reader reading at work. Jer, tell us who's up next.
Yeah, I can't tell if he was on break or not. But, we're going to have a few very workplace-oriented labor poems by Patrick Rogers. 3 short poems. We have Excess Is-ness from page 98 of Rabble Review 7, Chuzz Lake from page 28, and Some of the Things I Hear from page 72. This is Patrick Rogers.
My name is Patrick Rogers. I'm going to be reading a couple of my pieces here that are going to be landing in the Rabble Review. I'm here at work. This one is called Excess Is-ness. Excess Is-ness. Use my hubris to explain hubris on a metal shear older than Ferlinghetti. Smash my thumb like summer sausage. Leave the summer out of it. For lunch, I ate too much bolognese. This next one is called Chuzz Lake. Chuzz Lake, named Chuzz before any of us, Chuzz before our eyes. After slinging metal all day, we all like to pitch screws into the Chuzz before Chuzz Lake. Who among us know why it was so named? Before, abstractedly, I see us moving toward the time clock. What is the word for marking the recent past? Is processing what occurs here? Driving home from work, I hear some writer on the radio talk about traveling with a dictionary as his sole form of entertainment. The host asks his findings. His favorite word, retrolenticular. And this next one is a little longer. It's called Some of the Things I Hear. I carry little snippets of song around in my head, often whatever music I last heard, but more often a phrase pulled from the air around me. How about a courtesy flush? Though sometimes directional, you can't go that way. And if I'm lucky, the phrase is in the form of an idea, something like, we all work to the level of our own incompetence, and it is then I get stuck. My lead man talks about playing flip cup, walking from his car in flip-flops. Nothing will humble you so much as failing to work a broom. When I ask what CBM stands for, very low price, but we still buy it. Forklifts drive around shorter and shorter increments. Car rims bounce off one another, tumbling out of a 4-yard steel box, while I throw 5-foot chunks of extruded aluminum into a 10-yard lugger, and the ever-present logistical chatter over the two-way radios. And sometimes, like now, if I'm brave or careless, I take my earplugs out just to hear or imagine hearing the gentle tinkling of high-grade aluminum borings blowing into furrows, catching in divots on the asphalt. "Hey!" Boris yells, and then he's on the horn. 2 short bursts, followed by 1 long blast, sustains until something breaks. I don't know if it's my mouth, the floating metal it captures, and whether or not I should be concerned. But this water tastes like apple juice. I kick copper. No, a piece of coffee into the street. At shift end, I think I forget my water bottle in the back lot, and I wonder if it is so I can walk through the warehouse, hear bales of metal settle, tick in the dark.
All right. Thank you, Patrick Rogers. They had 3 new poems. Well, I don't know if they're new, but they're new to us, and they're in the new issue of Rabble Review number 7. So yeah, check them out. And yeah, so we're gonna keep moving. Our next reader is William Doreski. Their poem Goat-Footed is on page 38, and they will be reading it for us now. So please enjoy.
William Doreski, reading Goat-Footed. In the carriage shed behind the church, someone is laughing. I peer from the sun-swept lawn into the dark and barely make out a figure. It laughs and laughs, but I realize it isn't exactly human. Goat-footed, with a tall red conical hat, gnome-shaped, but gnomes wear shoes, not hoofs. I speak to it. The response soars illegibly from the shed into the blue and hovers there, a wink of silver. As my eyes adjust to the dim, I realize the creature is eating something. It looks like a lamb carcass or a small child. It's neither. It's a watermelon, and the gnomish thing is spitting out seeds and laughing. I move closer, although I'm a little afraid. The creature looks up at me and smiles with pointed yellow teeth. I point to the watermelon. It breaks off a big chunk and hands it to me. I sit in the dust and eat, spitting the seeds just as it does. Outside, clouds move in. A shadow falls across the driveway and crawls into the shed. It's so dark now I can't see the creature at all, but I hear it slurping watermelon and laughing that caustic laugh. When I finish my share of watermelon, I can leave. The creature will forget me as soon as I've gone. Its dunce cap wobbling as it laughs the idiot laugh that founded the world.
All right. Thank you to William Doreski. That was their poem Goat-Footed, and you can find it in Rabble Review number 7. You can download it now. It's free. All right. Introducing our next reader is Angel. So Angel, tell us who we're going to be hearing next.
Hello, my name is Nathan Lovitt. I am a scenic carpenter from Tacoma, Washington, and I will be reading my poems Waiting and Welding Mask. Waiting. Waking, with shelf fungus spiraling up my ankle, I scratch behind my ear and find wet, fluffy moss in my fingernails. I listened to wind blow past partition wall window blinds, its whistle drawn along the cladding carrying names other than mine. The leaves on my head and the mold spotting outward from the creases in my hands strain and beg for water, light. I find myself laying out within the grass, wind, and grain sky, decomposing, suspended above ground by bristles of sharpened grass, waiting, in flux and flora, for God to open his eyelid clouds, to peer down and bake my body in the heat of his omniscient spotlight, revoking my holy water, leaving my dried self filtered through dust, dirt, and stone, cerulean soul descending into endless caverns. Welding mask. Beads of weld splash along brushed steel like drops of rain collected on a duck's back. Knots in cedar crack open red like pursed lips grinning, and the walls are sprayed in chop saw chaff. Nature still lives outside, away from the cloud of ozone made by metal gluing itself together. I sit and work with red-hot beads rolling down my back, wishing they were water.
All right, thank you, Nate Lovitt, for that wonderful reading of their two poems, Waiting and Welding Mask. So, Jer will be introducing our final reader for the night. Jer, tell us what we'll be hearing.
Yeah, Angel said we had our final poet with Nathan Lovitt, but we tricked you because we have a prose reading. We're going to have DC Diamondopolus read 1962, It's Always the Girl's Fault, which is a short fiction piece found on page 87 of Rabble Review 7, and DC has also been in previous issues with other historical short fictions that tug at this former history student's heartstrings. Let's hear it.
Yep.
The story I'm going to read, 1962, It's Always the Girl's Fault, won first place at Table Feast in 2022. It also won first place at the Honest Story Challenge contest in 2023. 1962, It's Always the Girl's Fault. Blindfolded, Donna and Wendy sat in the back seat of a Ford Fairlane. Donna shuddered at the thought of lying on a slab of wood, bleeding to death. At every turn, their shoulders collided. Wendy touched her hand. Not wanting her little sister to feel her sweaty palm, Donna put her arm around her. The driver, a woman in a hat and dark glasses, had met the sisters in Ralph's grocery parking lot. After locking their mother's car, Donna gave the driver $100. It was all the money she had saved from babysitting and teaching piano. A siren wailed in the distance. She caught whiffs of McDonald's. A radio from a passing car blasted the twist. The siren was upon them. "Oh no," Donna cried. "Keep your blindfolds on. It's not for us." In the classified section of the Daily Breeze, Donna had recognized a coded message with a phone number and called. A woman gave her instructions and told her to bring someone she trusted. Donna's best friend was her younger sister. At 16, Wendy could drive her home. "Will she be all right?" Wendy asked. "I'm just the driver." Weeks from graduating as valedictorian of West Coast High, how could she have been so stupid to go all the way? Until April, her biggest worry was which major to choose, political or social science. Then Chuck cheated on her. The driver turned a corner. Wheels crunched over potholes. The Ford crawled, back up, and parked. "You can take off the blindfolds." Donna pulled the strap over her bouffant flip. In the west, the day hovered over the Pacific. They were in an alley. A shattered street lamp was on the left. On the right, a white building with brown streaks and rust. Parked beside them was a green van. Next to the building, a dumpster reeked of garbage. She wiped clammy hands down her navy pedal pushers. "I don't like this," Wendy whispered. Donna didn't want to end up like her childhood friend Bonnie. The neighbors gossiped. Her pregnancy had brought out their meanness, had caused shame on her family. Bonnie put a knitting needle up her vagina and bled to death. I don't have a choice. They left the Ford and stood before a door with a peephole. The driver unlocked it and pushed it open. The sisters walked in. The driver departed. A naked bulb lit the tiny foyer. Side by side were 2 folding chairs. A door led to another room. Wendy sat, twisting a strand of brown hair around her finger. Donna paced. Her thoughts became atomic explosions. Filthy room, quack doctor, botched abortion, dead. But when her eyes met Wendy's, and she saw fear in her sister's face, she switched from victim to comforting older sister. I'm sorry, Donna said, sitting beside her, that I dragged you into this. Wendy grasped her hand. Donna felt her warmth, smelled the floral fragrance of Prell's shampoo. It's our secret, Wendy said. The inner door opened. Come in, said a young woman in street clothes, surgical mask and white cap. Against the weight of dread, Donna rose. She took a step, stopped and glanced back. It'll be okay. Promise? I promise, Mickey. It was a nickname she'd given Wendy after their repeated trips to Disneyland. She entered a small room. The odor of alcohol and bleach overpowered the space. There was a door with an exit sign, a gurney with a white sheets and stirrups. The doctor had his back to her. He wore a knee-length white smock and a surgical cap that covered his hair. When he turned around, Donna gasped. The doctor was a woman. I was promised a real doctor. I am, said the woman in slacks, surgical gloves and mask. Let's get started. The assistant handed her a wrinkled but clean gown. Leave your top on, but take everything else off, including your shoes and socks. She rolled the tray next to the bed. Donna's fingers fumbled with the buttons on her shirt. Will I still be able to have children? Most likely, the doctor said. How many weeks pregnant? About 8. I've never seen a female doctor. More all the time. Donna's teeth chattered. For real? Barefoot, shaking, she questioned a woman in a man's profession. How old are you? The doctor asked. 18. Is it safe? How long? Yes, please. The doctor patted the bed. It's a simple procedure, about 10 minutes. Donna sat. Lie back. Graduating? Yes. Going to college? The assistant filled a syringe. What's that? Donna asked. An anesthetic, the young woman answered. Slide your bottom to the edge, the doctor said. Your feet in the stirrups. Donna made the adjustment as tears ran sideways across her cheeks. The doctor walked to the foot of the bed. The assistant rubbed alcohol on her arm. The needle pierced her skin. In seconds, her worry ceased. Break. Panic cut across Donna's confusion. What's happening? She asked as Wendy helped her to sit up. She watched the assistant pack boxes. The driver hurried through the door with the folding chairs. It went well. Everything's all right. We have to move often, the doctor said, handing Donna her clothes. You'll bleed for a day or 2. I'll give you antibiotics with directions. If you start hemorrhaging, go to the emergency room. Don't tell them you had an abortion. They'll arrest you. Donna turned away, a fugitive from the law. She was furious with Chuck for refusing to wear a rubber, angry at herself for allowing it. It was always the girl's fault. And Wendy, in time, would she despise her and tell their parents? I hear you're debate captain and valedictorian, the doctor said. We need women lawyers. Wendy gently helped her sister off the gurney. Donna's feet touched the cold cement floor. Blood flowed onto the pad in her panties. She moaned. Wendy held her tighter. Donna thought no one should go through this or end up like Bonnie.
All right. That was DC Diamondopolus reading their fiction piece 1962, It's Always the Girl's Fault. So for Rabble Review, you can find all of the things we do on our website, rabblereview.com. We have a link tree also that has links to our Twitter, our Instagram, our Blue Sky. Apparently we have a Mastodon that's also there too. I don't know. I've never looked at Mastodon. It's scary.
Yeah, Mastodon's really kind of hard to get into.
It is.
But
it seems.
Blue Sky is nice and easy.
Yeah, Blue Sky is just Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for us for today. Once again, I want to thank my fellow editors, Angel, Neri, and Hurdis, for joining me to discuss this issue and for working really hard on making it as nice and coherent and beautiful as it is. Some wonderful issues. So if you haven't already, download it now. It's free. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you again to our readers tonight. We had, I'm gonna pull it up. Thanks again to Diane Lefer, Bob King, Karoly Lensis, Amrita Valan, Tim Kahl, Chloe Frost, the poet MJ, Tim Staley, Patrick Rogers, William Doreski, Nathan Lovitt, and DC Diamondopolus. They are all featured in Rabble Review No.7. They all have various ways to support them, and we encourage you to do so. So we will be signing off. Have a good night, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.
Good night.